Morning, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. We've got 101 subscribers, which is pretty cool. I didn't think 101 people would care what I have to talk about. Anyway, grab a cup of coffee, sit down. Let's talk about audio. So today we're talking about the Klipsch R51M. It's a little bookshelf speaker, as you can see. It has a 5.25 inch copper woofer. It has a 1 inch aluminum tweeter that is mounted in a horn. The only thing about Klipsch, they've been around for a long time, been making a lot of speakers, and they're probably most known for their home theater, but I would say in the last 2, maybe 3 years, they've really upped their game with just straight audio. So let's get into it. Now first I already did this video and I tried to do it really nicely. I tried to be very professional, and I have a tendency to be, I don't know, somewhat sarcastic. Anyway, the commenter didn't particularly like my delivery or really what I said. He didn't agree with my opinion, and that's fine. We all have different opinions. That's what's great about this hobby, is we all like different things, and that's fine. It would be pretty boring if people just liked vanilla ice cream. So the great thing about speakers is they come in all different shapes, sizes, and what I call flavors. Some people just like different flavors. So I'm kind of glad I got that comment, and that's fine, and that means people are actually interested in what I have to say, and they may not all agree with me, and that's great. I like what I like. I like rock and roll, and I like speakers that make rock and roll sound good. So these are currently priced at $144. Their retail is like $290. At $144, I think that's their wheelhouse. I don't think, and I wouldn't recommend buying them at $290. So specs, they are 93 dB efficient. That means how loud it plays at 1 watt at 1 meter away. So if a speaker is 85 dB and another speaker is 93 dB, the 93 dB speaker is going to play louder at the same amount of power. So Klipsch have always been known for being pretty efficient speakers. As far as looks and build, I really like the looks of this speaker. I like the kind of the copper / brass colored fasteners. Klipsch has always been a good looking speaker with their copper woofers. And I really think if you don't have kids poking around at things, these look way better with the grills on, or with the grills off, than the grills on. They kind of look boring with the grills on. So let's get into the sound. How do they sound? Let's talk about bass. So if this speaker had a weakness, it would probably be in the bass. And it's not its fault. It's got a small woofer. I will say that the bass doesn't sound particularly unbalanced depending upon where you place the speaker. And I also will say this speaker did not really take well to tone controls. Overall, the sound signature is very good, balanced, if yet leaning towards the bright side, but not too bright. When I started messing around with tone controls to kind of bump up the bass to where I like it a little bit thicker, a little bit more pronounced bass in my music, but yet still balanced. It didn't sound as good as it did when I just left the tone controls off. You can affect the bass by placement, and placement on this speaker is, to me, really vital in getting the best out of it. I found the best bass response, the most cohesive with the music, and enough punch for my like to be about 9 inches from the wall. Anything, if if you pull it out further in the room, it didn't seem as punchy to me. It wasn't as punchy. And I think that's kind of what these speakers are designed for. They're designed to go, next to a TV, on a TV stand, or maybe on some small stands. It's a pretty small speaker, and this didn't even take up my whole stand. But getting it closer to the wall is really going to help out with your bass, if that's what you're into. If not, then it's a very clean, tight bass. It's quick. I think it's pretty accurate, just maybe a little bit on the anemic side. But the bass is there. It's just not the speaker's strong suit. Let's talk about mid-range. Mid-range on this speaker it's good for certain genres of music, in my opinion. Rock and roll, I thought it did mid-range very well. Really heavy singer-songwriter acoustic stuff, the mids seemed a bit veiled, not as clear as some of the other speakers. This speaker was also difficult for me because I've been listening to a lot of two high $200 speakers and even $600 speakers, and in my mind I'm kind of judging it pretty harshly because I'm comparing it to those speakers just because that's what I've been listening to lately. I do have a number of, I would say, equivalent priced speakers coming in. I have the Sony Core bookshelf already. I have the Fluence, I believe, Signature series coming in today. And then I have two Polks that I just have had around. I'm going to compare all those. And I think that's going to be a better judge of where this speaker really is at. This speaker is quite good. It's quite good for what it is and its price range. I don't think it's a fair comparison to look at speakers twice this price, but it's good. And my kind of litmus test for how good a speaker is if I just kind of sit back and start enjoying the music, and that did happen with these. Let's talk about treble. Treble on these, again, is going to depend on your taste. This speaker and horn speakers in general have a tendency to be very forward and sometimes what people would consider bright. Bright would mean heavily focused on the treble, or that's the sound signature that the speaker really is pronounced at. So with a horn tweeter, if you point it right at you, to my ear, that is not the most enjoyable way to listen to these speakers. It's too bright for me. It sounds a bit unbalanced, if not a lot unbalanced. And that's just not my cup of tea. So placement and toe-in of these speakers is really important to get what I would consider a balanced sound. The most balanced this speaker sounded to me, to my ear, was 9 inches from the wall, pointing directly out into the room. So no toe-in at all. And when I placed them that way, the sound was very balanced, very pleasing to my ear, and quite good. If you want more treble, just toe it in more. Point the tweeters and the horns directly at you, and you'll get more treble. The cool thing about these speakers is they're off axis, which means how it sounds when you're sitting not directly in front of it changes. Some speakers have very cohesive off axis performance. And if you don't like the sound of those speakers that are really good off axis, you're kind of hosed because it's going to sound how it sounds. The off axis performance of this speaker isn't great. I've heard speakers that sound way better, but they're also higher price speakers. The good thing about not having really good off-axis sound is that you can change the sound to your taste simply by the direction that the speaker is facing you. For me, again, straight out into the room, about 9 inches from the wall, sounded the best to me. And it sounded good. It sounded really good. This speaker also really came together, I'd say, around 75 dB of listening. And you can test sound pressure levels, and that's what I'm referring to, on your phone. You can download a free SPL meter. When it got to 75, I really felt like it kind of melded together. Below that, I felt like the bass was a little bit on the weaker side. At 75 dB, it sounded very balanced, again, depending upon toe-in. And it sounded balanced up to about 85 dB, which is quite loud for me. At 85, it started to kind of fall apart. And when I say fall apart, I mean I didn't hear instrument separation very well. That balanced sound became unbalanced. It started to become shouty, a little bit, not a little bit, a lot brighter and somewhat shrill. Also, at higher listening levels, the treble started to get a bit sibilant. So 85 dB-ish and kind of above, I started to hear the S's, and I started to hear the th really pronounced, specifically with Dave Matthews. I tested this with my usual suspects: Dave Matthews, Metallica, Metallica Black Album, Metallica S&M 2 album, Alanis Morissette, Uninvited, and for the most part, it sounded good. It sounded great with Metallica. It sounded very good with Dave Matthews in that sound range, 75 to 85. I don't think anybody would argue that Klipsch is a rock and roll speaker. It's fun, it's dynamic, it's bright, and if you get the right placement, it can be very punchy on the bass. These hit that. If you're really into acoustic singer-songwriter type stuff, I think there's better options out there for you, but for $144, I think this is a good speaker at that price range. I will know more with my testing tomorrow. I am going to listen to all of those speakers, A, B, C, D, E, and maybe even F speakers together, and I'm going to give you my opinion on what I think the best speaker under $200 is out of that group of speakers. And those speakers are all, they're high sellers. So I went to the Amazon bookshelf listing of what is the highest selling speaker. Klipsch is all over that. There is a Polk, I think Fluence is in there as well. So all the speakers that I'm going to be testing tomorrow are on that list. So they all sell well. And I'm going to tell you what my opinion is on them. Let me see if I missed anything. Good speaker. It's a good speaker if you get the placement right. If you listen at specific levels, I think it's a very good speaker. And that's really all I have to say about these. If you're new, please subscribe. It's going to help me out. Right now I'm buying all this stuff just with my own money, returning what I can. But I'm kind of whittling down things and getting what I would call reference components so that I can judge other speakers in the same price range against that. So with that, I am Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man, and I will see you probably tomorrow.